Hey, good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here on this wonderful evening. First order of business is to adopt our agenda.
Hey, I would actually like to make an addition to the agenda. Sorry. Oh, and I forgot to do this too. Okay. I would like to make an addition to the agenda, which is to add an executive session. So it would be item number 14.A. And I think I would also like to add under 14 that at the beginning of public comment, Representative Nielsen will speak to the select board and audience. So with those amendments,
Okay.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second with the addition. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is Seth Hopkins speaking. So
Oh, right.
we're trying to record the minutes in multiple ways tonight. And I won't say why. If Charlene wants to say why, we can say why. But if everybody, when they speak the first time, could say their name first, then the machine that's trying to keep up with the meeting will try and keep track of who's saying what. Okay, so this was Seth Hopkins. This was a paid message.
This is like an AI kind of minute taking, correct?
AI and like AA.
Hey, too many A's. Okay. Well,
Oh, boy.
So we have a fairly lengthy agenda. I'm going to skip most of my opening remarks and just say that I'm sure we will all treat everyone with respect. And in wanting to get down through the lengthy agenda in a reasonable amount of time, I'm going to cut that short. Any other select board member want remark? Okay, reoccurring matters, the minutes from the April 14th meeting.
We approve the minutes from the April 14th meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any changes? None heard. All in favor of approval of the April 14th minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No one. The
I
warrant,
move to approve the warrant in the amount of $147,253.01.
Second.
motion and a second on the warrant. Any questions on the warrant?
Brett?
Brett, there's a request for, I think, $5,200 for chloride,
Yes, sir.
and that is for,
Chloride is what the highway department throws down on the unpaved roads to keep the dust down
okay, great,
in dry conditions. Yeah.
thank you, appreciate it.
And I had a question too, Seth, on page 2, there's one for $1,540 for lab supplies. Is that for the?
That is for the wastewater department. That is for, I believe it was related to chlorine and E. coli testing.
Okay. No other questions? Oh, and Coolidge.
Jan Coolidge. So I was noticing on the warrant that you seem to use the same taglines. Like you had concrete and it's charged to roadside mower maintenance, concrete, roadside mower maintenance, concrete, roadside mower maintenance.
That in fact went to the roadside mower.
Concrete did?
Yes. So the roadside mower is like this, and the mower hangs off only one side to mow the ditch. And so that the mower does not tip over into the ditch, they have to build a concrete filled weight for the opposite side. And that's what that is for.
I was just like, the two don't match. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor of approval of the warrant, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one. Third item, unclaimed property warrant for $1,412.49.
I move to approve the unclaimed property warrant in the amount of $1,412.49.
Second.
But would like to have that explained a little bit more.
Bill Moore is volunteering.
Well, I'm volunteering because I see that that's almost all me. So this is Bill Moore. if there are people that don't pick up checks, like sometimes it happens with our football refunds, the treasurer is, I think by statute even, required to return that money to the Vermont Treasurer's Department. Then it goes into that, check out and see if you have funds the treasurer's holding on to. So this is what this represents. At least most of those for Little League expenses. We have referees that didn't pick up their money, or flag football refunds that weren't picked up.
But
So-
we don't know who those people are, that we can contact them and say we have a check for you?
So the treasurer, I think because she likes to clean the books up, if they have not, we send an email out. If they don't respond, then she's sending it sending them unclaimed. So
They're all quite a few years old. Too bad, rather than paying that, we couldn't put it back in our fund, right?
they earned it.
Okay,
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of paying this warrant, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no one. Moving on. Item 4 is a presentation by Mary Cohen regarding 30 Conant Square. Floor is all yours, Mary.
Thank you, thank you. Mary Cohen, Cornerstone Housing Partners. First of all, I would like to tell you a little bit about our new organization. Cornerstone Housing Partners is actually a conglomeration of 3 affordable housing entities. One was NeighborWorks of Western Vermont, Housing Trust of Rutland County, and now Shire's Housing down in Bennington. We decided to do this merger because it was really building our strength and our bench. And also in our association with NeighborWorks of Western Vermont, we now have resources on the federal level from NeighborWorks America, which is a national organization that supports affordable multifamily rental. In the process, we did a portfolio analysis, which was it continues to be a really great tool for us as we see what we've really brought together. And part of this portfolio analysis identified some properties that needed some refresh or some rehab, or what we call preservation. And so part of that is the Conant Square here in Brandon, and it's also going to be paired with a property called Cora B. Whitney, which is a very similar property in Bennington. They're both old historic buildings. They're both senior disabled. One's 19 units, one's 22 units. They both need some refresh. So tonight I'm here just to tell you about this. We're getting some funding from Vermont Housing Conservation Board, as well as the tax credit program through Vermont Housing Finance Agency. And that's what will fund these 2 entities. Seth asked me 3 times if I wanted to share materials, and I didn't until now. I do. I would like to just share a little bit of history on Conant Square.
Thank you, Mary.
Got an extra coming around.
This is just a little bit about Conant Square. It was originally built in the 1820s. It was a tavern and a stop for the Underground Railroad. There is still an underground tunnel to the Marble Street and to a big house on Pearl Street. There was another addition in the 1850s. And in around 1982, it was purchased by Frank Giroux, along with a few of his partners, and they put a 3-story addition on the back, and it was had a HUD subsidies on it, which were the original Section 8 vouchers. It has been a subsidized property ever since. And what that means is that no resident pays more than 30% of their income, and the rent balance is paid by HUD. VHFA was the original financier of the building for Frank Giroux and asked for perpetual affordability. The HUD contract was 20 years. And when the contract was coming up, this private developer decided he wanted to sell. And so that's when VHFA approached what was then the Rutland County Community Land Trust, which ultimately turned into the Housing Trust of Rutland County. So the Housing Trust basically purchased it from Frank Giroux in 2006. We did a light rehab, and it has been in existence ever since. As you can see, Las Gangas was the original architect in 2007, and Giancola was the construction crew. And then there's a few more pictures of it. So now fast forward 19 years, and it's time for another redo. And so we're going to be not fully gutting the place, but we are going to put in a new heater system, a sprinkler system, elevator, roof. There'll be some cabinetry, change, lots of painting, a new sidewalk. We need people to be safe, light fixtures, etc. We're hoping that this project gets funded before the end of the year and that we could start the project basically in 2025. And it typically takes about 12 months. We do have a puzzle in relocation while the work is being done. We don't know what that is yet. And I did want to introduce, I'm sorry, Dan Caputo is our Director of Real Estate Development at Cornerstone. That's his headache. But it is something that we will do thoughtfully.
And is this going to affect the current occupants' rents or ability to stay there?
Nope. No, that we might have to relocate them while we do their unit, depending on how much is being done to their particular unit. Again, we try to be really thoughtful about that and, not disrupt them too much, but an occupied rehab is a little tricky.
And will these be all interior rehab or will there?
Interior and exterior.
Exterior.
Yep, the new roof, probably some painting, again, sidewalks that need to repair. We just did a brick wall there, or a retaining wall. And then larger, sprinkler heating system, probably some new cabinetry, certainly paint and everything, light fixtures.
And is this a listed building in the historical?
It is.
It is. And so that will be exterior renovations. We'll take that into account.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We have Vermont residential energy efficiency standards. We live by the health and safety, residential standards we live by. And certainly when it's an historic, and we will be getting historic tax credits on this building. So we will be following lots of rules around that.
Great.
Perfect.
I think there's a hand up from you.
Okay, go for it. Vicky and Zoom, would you like to speak up?
Hi, I believe you just said that the relocation wasn't going to affect tenants, or the rehabilitation wasn't going to affect tenants. But I did happen to see a letter that the tenants were made to all sign acknowledgement that they received, and from what I read, it said that if they wanted to move back into Conant Square when the repairs were done, that during the months that they were not able to live there, they were going to have to pay the rent for those apartments to hold them. And as you've stated, these are all low-income individuals.
That's right. What will happen is they will continue to pay their rent while if and when we have to relocate them. For instance, if we had to put them in a hotel for a certain amount of time, they would not have to pay for that. They would only have to pay their typical rent. And there's no jeopardy of them losing their tenancy in the building. I hope that makes sense.
And my second question is, are you planning to do a similar presentation for the tenants that have questions like the one I just asked?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Brent Bueller behind you.
I've known some folks that live there, and I know they like to congregate down in the parking lot. Will there be a covered area for them to do that so they can enjoy the outside more?
Do we have that in I don't believe we have that in our scope currently. If we're lucky enough to be under budget, we might be able to add some kind of, even like a smoking shelter or some kind of place for them to congregate.
They do cookouts and congregate down there.
We really do like to incorporate outdoor community space for our residents. And that's what I think you're about. Right.
All set? Very good. Thank you very much for the
Thank you
information.
very much. Appreciate it.
Moving on, item 5 would be the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, members of the community. I did submit my report in advance. I just want to highlight a couple of items. One is to highlight that now that we're in great weather, we'll start to see food trucks and trailers and things like that in Brown Town, and just reminding everyone that regardless of whether you're on public or private property, you do need to get an itinerant vendor permit in advance, and those are available on the town website. I wanted to thank Brandon's tree warden. I don't see Neil Sillins here. Oh, is he on Zoom? Great, Neil. Thanks to Neil and the group that assisted him in implementing the Caring for Canopies grant and coordinated the planting of several trees in the downtown on Saturday, where they were well watered, weren't they? Weren't they, Neil? And thanks to Brian Kilpeck from the Highway Department for coming in to prepare the planting sites on a non-work day. As a reminder to the community, Green Up Day is this Saturday, May 3rd. Thanks to Jim Leary, who has been Brandon's Green Up coordinator for many years. A colleague of mine at the State Archives provided a collection of photographs from Vermont's first Green Up Day in 1970, when Governor Dean Davis visited Brandon as part of his statewide tour. And if you want to see those photographs, I believe they're going to be shared by the Secretary of State's office later this week on their social media, or you can go to the town's website, and it's in my report. There's a little link you can go over there. I have to say, he was a stylish governor with cowboy hat and all kinds of things. And then also for the awareness of the community, on May 13th at 6 o'clock in this room, our Brandon Planning Commission is going to be hosting some planners from Rutland Regional Planning Commission to talk about the Act 250 land use revision, which is called Act 181. Brandon is really well positioned to avail itself of some of the benefits of the Act 181 tiers, and this matter will come to the Select Board probably at your May 26th meeting for Select Board consideration. And then two announcements that did not make it into my report. One is that thanks to a suggestion from Select Board member Ralph Ethier, we've connected with the Vermont Department of Labor, and we're now posting town employment opportunities through them once our account gets approved, but we're ready to post the highway job there. We've got the job waiting to be posted and the police officers' jobs. I guess this was not a previous practice in Brandon. They didn't have a record of us. That's why it's going to take them a day or two to approve us. And then a matter of public interest regarding a change in location for a public meeting. The trustees of public funds had warned a meeting for 8:30 in the morning this Thursday, May 1st, at the Naylor and Breen office. They are moving that meeting. It will still be 8:30 in the morning this Thursday, May 1st, but it will be here in this room at the town hall. So there will be a new agenda posted by 8:30 tomorrow morning, which will be sufficient for open meeting requirements. I've asked the trustees to make a post on Front Porch Forum announcing the change of location. And of course, we'll put the new agenda on the website and so forth.
Thank you. Questions for the town manager from the board? Questions for the town manager from the public? Moving on, Community Development Officer, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my report for August 28th. Youth Cheer Camp is scheduled for kids in grades 3 through 8 on July 23rd to the 26th. The skill building camp will include some tumbling practice at the Head Over Heels gymnastics facility in Rutland. Pee Wee Cheer Mini Camp for kids K through 2 will be held on July the 28th and through August 1st, with a public performance being held at Pittsford Day on August 2nd. Ex Mortis Entertainment is renting the town hall for a metal music concert on May 31st. This event will be privately ticketed and will run from 7 to 10 p.m. right upstairs. We're partnering with Otter Valley and Pittsford Rec to offer a field hockey camp on July 14th through the 17th. It's a great way for kids in grades 3 through 7 to work with current Otter Valley players and coaches. The Brandon Idol finale is being held on May 16th right upstairs. This will be an amazing concert featuring the 10 finalists and a couple former Brandon Idol winners. Tickets are $5. Drink service will be provided by Mays. Concessions by Dallas Ladd. Doors open at 6:30. Spring baseball and softball is in full swing. We have 155 plus kids on 12 teams. And related to baseball, I wanted to invite the public down. The Randy Adams Youth Baseball League is having a tournament this weekend down at the Pittsford Rec. And that day, they're going to be doing a dedication of the field to a longtime rec director in Pittsford and former Brandon resident, Otter Valley graduate Randy Adams, and naming the field after him. He's been a tremendous advocate for recreation and youth activities and sports, particularly baseball in Rutland County. And I encourage anybody who wanted to honor him to go down and check out the ceremony. And that is my report for today.
Questions for Mr. Moore from the board? Questions for Mr. Moore from the public?
Thank you.
Okay, item 7, an update on SolarFest. Mike Bailey is here to present.
Good evening, select board members, Seth and Bill. Thank you very much for having me on the agenda tonight. It's almost 4 years that SolarFest has been part of Brandon, and we could not be happier. We're grateful to the select board. We're grateful to people who brought us here, Bill Moore, Tim Giles, the Energy Committee, Joyce Emerson, and Jack Schneider. We are just thrilled to be a part of the Brandon community. Sorry, this is Mike Bailey from SolarFest. We have had some great progress so far this year at our center on Steinberg Road. You may not know that the solar array that's on our property has started operating. It's produced over 270,000 kilowatt hours in March, which is about 300 homes worth of power in March. So our small solar array, 125 kilowatt array, has been fully permitted. Green Mountain Power has done their portions. We've put posts in the ground, and our volunteers are going to start assembling racks and putting solar panels in the ground June the 16th. So we will be putting out notice that if anyone wants to come learn how to put solar panels together, we have consumer education going on. We've also been working with the Agency of Natural Resources. A Pot of Courage has kept us out of trouble for the walkway that we've been planning for connecting downtown with Estabrook Park and beyond. So we did not receive the statewide grant, but we did receive grants from the New England Grow Grant and also the Trust of Public Funds. We are grateful to them, and we have started, our volunteers have started clearing brush to be able to make that pathway finished as quickly as we can. And finally, we had received the permission from the state preservation and from the town with a demolition permit. We've removed the dilapidated, dangerous barn that was on the property. It's gone. We now have a lot more space for the main point I want to talk about, which is for the first time in 10 years, on August 8th, 9th, and 10th, we'll be having a 3-day SolarFest in Brandon. It's our first big event. So the property is perfect. We have, with the assistance of Celebration Tent Rentals, we'll have over 50 exhibit spaces for covered exhibit spaces for vendors. Covered's important. In 2023, we were supposed to have a festival, but you all remember the flooding. We do have dozens of national performers coming to Brandon. Many of them are staying on Park Street. We're welcoming Donna the Buffalo and the Herd. They're coming in from their national tour to the solar stages in Brandon. We've got bluegrass coming from Appalachia into the fog, and the Americana sounds of Who Dost coming up from Kentucky. The New England reggae brass band, the Kotoko brass band, is coming in, And we have the Connecticut State Troubadour, Laura Herskovich, and her band of highway philosophers. Plus, we do have a well-represented music stage from the Ray Vega of Vermont, Ray Vega Band, both there, Phil Henry, and of course our famous SolarFest Singer-Songwriter Showcase, which is in its 20th year. So we're very excited about all the music performers. We're also very excited about the speakers, the workshops, the exhibitors, the vendors. We're, as I mentioned, we have about 50 exhibitors coming to Brandon, and we're thrilled that the Brandon Chamber of Commerce is hosting, is sponsoring a large display of the best of Brandon. So we have very excited to be able to showcase Brandon and let everybody see why we fell in love with Brandon as well. And while kids are always free, we are doing something different this year. We have a large Kids Corner activities planned for all 3 days, but Sunday, for the first time ever, is entirely free. We have music, we have workshops, and we're organizing it as an expo for sustainability. Classes, hands-on displays, activities, showing people how they can weatherize their home, reduce their energy costs, save on food costs, and other ways to be more sustainable. So the Sustainability Expo on Sunday, August the 10th, will be the first time we have a free portion of SolarFest. So fingers crossed. We have,
Good one.
we're hopeful for a good time. So anyone who's interested in the latest updates, because the schedule is changing daily, you go to our SolarFest website. It's SolarFest, SolarFest.org. And there they can buy tickets, they can sign up as volunteers and go to the festival for free. They can pick maybe one of the few remaining exhibit spaces. They can even sign up if they are interested in giving a workshop. So everything's at solarfest.org. And finally, we're excited to be part of the parade again this year, and including our shared golf cart, solar powered golf cart with Bill Moore, and ferrying VIPs around in Memorial Day and July. So again, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you for the information.
Bookmark is a reminder.
Karen, why don't you come to the?
Come up.
Yeah.
Yep.
My understanding that you got some.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Karen Rose. If you got some money from the trustees of public funds, are any of the revenues that you produce from this going back into the fund, or did you just get that money as a gift?
The money is for bulk hiking.
Yes, yeah, from SolarFest. Yes.
So that has nothing to do with that.
festival.
I'll take one more.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
When you get revenue that's for your event, it's any of the money that you got from the trustees of public funds going back into the kitty for the trustees of public funds.
And then the trustee
Mhm.
walkway is completely separate from the event SolarFest.
Yes,
That's a year-round thing that we will be maintaining. So we're covering the cost. We have an agreement with the town to be able to make that available for public use.
I understand that, but I was wondering if you're going to pay any back for the money that you got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Item 8, fleet status and replacement plan from Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seth Hopkins. I gave the board a one-pager with the current status of the 4 cruisers that we have and some recommendations. And happy to entertain questions or find out what the board feels is a good plan. I do recommend that we divest of the 2014 Taurus, which is currently uninspectable, according to Chief Kachajian. And I also recommend that we divest of the 2016 Explorer that is currently inspected through January. I recommend that we keep the 2020 truck and the 2022 Explorer and undercoat them and maintain them in the fleet. And I recommend that as a replacement cruiser that we use the FY25 police budget capacity to pay for that rather than looking for a capital fund to pay for that. That will still get the FY25 police budget in at or below its budgeted authorization. So those are my requests.
And is that because we're not paying salaries?
It's fundamentally because we are not staffed
Gotcha.
well
Okay.
enough, yes. And I have certainly, I should say, I have consulted with Chief Kachajian about this, and
Is there a market for rusted, uninspectable?
well,
chloride?
I mean, at the bare minimum, it can be scrapped, right? At the bare minimum, it can be scrapped. And if it's not scrapped, there are people who will, I can imagine that there's somebody in town who would buy a Brandon Cruiser to maybe run in the demolition derby at the state fair, right? I can picture reasons where somebody would want a cruiser that they could not put on the road.
Okay, I just worry about cars being purchased and then
So when
being
we
left.
when we sell on Municipid, it's one of the questions. Is it inspected? And if you say no, they say, is it inspectable? And we'll say no. And so whoever buys this is going to know exactly what
What
we're
they're
selling,
Okay.
and it will be priced accordingly.
Pleasure of the board.
Actually, I've got a question. Didn't we just sell one of the cruisers we had?
We've sold 3.
Didn't we just recently sell the
We sold the
K9 one?
K9 most recently, yeah.
Was that, that was inspectable, wasn't it? It was being run until it was
That,
sold.
that was inspectable, yes,
Why did we sell that?
because we don't need it. Like that was so altered to be a K9 vehicle that it was going to cost us a considerable amount of money to put it back into being a not K9 vehicle because we didn't have any plan to have a K9 program.
Did anybody consult with the person that works on our vehicles to ask an opinion, or?
I did not. I don't know if Chief Kachajian did or not. I consulted with Chief Kachajian.
It seems like if that was inspectable, it was still a usable cruiser.
It really was not though, because I asked Chief Kachajian, can we take the K9 stuff out and put the back seat back in to transport prisoners and stuff? And he advised that the back seat had been discarded when it was converted into a K9 vehicle. So we were going to have to buy a back seat and make other alterations to the car to put it back into not K9 service.
I would be in favor of the plan to sell the 2 oldest cruisers and update one from our leftover police budget that we will be coming to. The newest vehicle we have on here is already 3 years old, so it makes sense to upgrade. I think we were at budget time this year, we were talking about if we had been full staffed, which we're not, needing to purchase 2 cars. So it certainly makes sense to buy one now while we have the funds and the money there. So
It will put us in a better position. I think this is a reasonable size fleet for current staffing and the staffing that we expect to get. And then in FY26, if we staff up further and, we can then look at a capital purchase or a lease or something if we decide we need a 4th cruiser.
I think that's the most logical planning.
Do we think the one that's, do we think the 2016 Explorer won't pass another inspection, in 9 months or?
I have no information about that one. It was just the next oldest one.
With our current staffing levels, I'd be in favor of getting rid of the Taurus and keeping the Explorer and staying the fleet size we are. We don't have much staff.
So what I was suggesting would give us the same fleet size as what you're suggesting, but it would use the capacity in the police budget to do that so that the oldest car would be 5 years old instead of 10 years old.
I think it also behooves us to consider that if we're trying to attract good police officers and they come and see cars that aren't in great shape, that's going to be one less factor in our favor. Having a good and updated fleet is going to be more appealing for especially younger officers.
Do you know how many miles are on the 2016 Explorer?
I do not have that right here, no. Chief Kachajian, you know, he does, when he comes in, I feel like there's a little bit of a refrain of, it's over 100,000 miles. You know, I feel like, and it's not just that one. I feel like most of our cruisers are probably in that range, except the two newest ones.
Maybe if he's willing to speak on it, the mechanic that's here could potentially advise us what his opinion is. Jared?
Jared Lowell. What would you like to?
Well, it seems though, you're the one working on the police vehicles. You're not asked your opinion on stuff, and the chief doesn't. He has you fix them, and that's pretty much it. And I think that maybe he should ask your opinion before he just decides something.
So the 2016 is a little over 100,000. Mechanically, it's in pretty decent shape. Will it pass another inspection? Well, come December, we'll have to look that over and see. Every car in this fleet, you have to understand that they go out in the salt and then they come back into a heated garage, and that heat accelerates the corrosion on these vehicles. And it's no fault of anybody. They have to have their cruisers clean to be able to respond to calls. Same with town highway. They go back into a heated garage and they start to, it makes it corrode even faster in the heat. So these vehicles can corrode faster than a vehicle that's parked outside its whole life with outside temperatures. So these cars, year by year, as they get older, if they aren't undercoated, the undercarriage and the areas of inspection that are in contention for this state would be inner and outer rockers. Those start to get tender if they haven't been treated throughout their life. I can tell you that the last cruiser that was undercoated for the town was 2015. I can tell you that the Taurus that is uninspectable was inspected in 12 of 23. So it'd been 16 months. And then we looked at it for inspection and saw what we saw. So it wasn't 12 months, and it saw 2 full winters, December of 23, December of 24 through the whole winter until April now. So the accelerated rusting from heating in it out on the road. Really, you had 2 full winters on that Taurus that was uninspectable. And it had some small rust holes in the outer rocker panels of it. And the rear crash bar had some corrosion holes in it. And those are inspection items. Can they be fixed? Yes. Do you want to put substantial money in that vehicle that's near 100,000 miles and over 10 years old for what, maybe another year before maybe the inner rockers start to show maybe a hole? It's probably not a good gamble. So that vehicle going is definitely a good idea. It's just not inspectable. And if you sunk the money into it through a body shop, it would be considerable. Now the 16, without looking at it, I don't know how it fared this winter. Maybe that the rockers on that are going to start to get tender. You have to go kind of winter by winter to see. So I don't know on the 16 right now without getting it in the air and looking at it to give you a fair assessment. But I can tell you that the water pump has been done on the 16, and that is a considerable job for those vintage cruisers. It's a very expensive job, but it has been done on that one.
So here's a question from a non-mechanic. If a car has not been undercoated and is starting to show tenderness, can undercoating prolong its use, or is it kind of
can
like
to
putting a
certain
Band-Aid on?
extent. So if say the rust is perforated inside and outside a rocker, and you do undercoat it inside and outside, it might slow it down for a year, but there's no guarantee. It still could, a hole could still go through it, especially in an accelerated sort of corrosion environment that these vehicles see. So if you're already there at that point where it's iffy, it's probably, almost at the end of its life because it hadn't been undercoated. None of them have been undercoated since 2015.
Okay.
It would seem to me that the 2016 in reality for the work that we're asking it to do, we're not going to get much more out of it. Does that sound like a fair statement? And
I would say that my biggest worry would be those rocker panels, because that's a big failure item. And at any time a hole could be started somewhere. And as soon as we start to pull, they have plastic outer covers on them. And as soon as we start to pull the clips to have a look, that's usually where the tenderness comes through when you see the hole started. But that could happen anytime. And like I said, these are accelerated corrosion conditions that these vehicles get into because they're outside in all the salt. Then they go inside the Sally Port where they get all warmed up and melt off. Well, that's a constant happening. And that accelerates the rust on these vehicles. So I guess going forward, if you were to buy new cruisers, definitely get them undercoated and keep up with the undercoating. So that you don't run into these types of conditions.
thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really helpful.
Other questions? Pleasure of the board.
I need to start my computer back up. I move that we retain the 2020 F-150 and 2020 Explorer, get them undercoated in the hopes that that may prolong their life a little. That we sell the 2014 Taurus and the 2016 Explorer and authorize going out to bid for a replacement cruiser to be bought from the FY25 police budget. That was a
Motion. Do
mouthful.
we have a second?
I'll second.
Additional conversation. Would be bringing in any,
Yeah, I do.
yep, go ahead.
Are we gonna be under our budget enough to? It looked like the police was still a little bit over.
But their their pace of spending on the labor line is a pale comparison of the pace that would be projected for the rest of the year in the budget. So I would forecast that line might have another $10,000 to grow, but there's another 54 plus 20, there's another $74,000 of cash in that line. If we were fully staffed, that's what we would be calling on. So I think there's around $70,000 of not labor costs that can be dedicated toward replacing a cruiser from this year's budget.
And what are we thinking the cruiser might cost?
Approximately $70,000.
Okay. Well, that's
I don't make up the figures, I just report them.
right.
Well, and if we sell the other couple, we can apply that money towards.
So what's been happening so far is that the equipment that we've been selling has been put into a kind of not department by department capital fund, but a unified capital fund. And so, yes, anything that you throw into that fund, you can draw out of that fund without bothering people for taxes.
And how much is in that fund right now? Is this the fund that we started with the appropriation?
No, so the appropriation doesn't happen till July.
Right.
So the fund it consists of the surplus vehicles that we've sold. We started with not just vehicles. Remember, we started with a jetter and a fuel tank the first summer. And then there was 2 cruisers, there was the plow truck, and there was a pickup truck, and then there was the K9 cruiser. So altogether, those items have realized about $33,000. But then last meeting, I asked if we could draw out about 16 for the tractor.
Right.
So there's still that difference left of about 17,000 in the capital fund.
And you recommend rather than using that as partial payment to just,
I think it would be wiser because then you won't be in a position at the end of the fiscal year where there's going to be that every year conversation of should we encumber funds, right? We've found out that encumbering funds always sounds like a smart idea. Stuff that wasn't expended in a certain department gets kind of earmarked for that department in the next year. But what it does is it really complicates the following year's budget writing process.
okay,
Ralph Ethier. I'd like to see us have some kind of report done on the Explorer on if it would pass, because even if we buy a new one, that puts us at 3 vehicles for the police department.
Yeah, they want to always have one for each officer and a spare.
Yeah, so if we buy a new one, if we happen to hire an officer, then we have.
We'll be short a spare.
Yeah, and I think it might be worth us just really looking at that Explorer and keeping it just for, because I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of money for it. And I think it would be good insurance just to have a vehicle hanging.
I'd like to amend the motion to get rid of 2, to only getting rid of 1 and buying 1, or?
Yes,
so you would amend the motion to retain the 2016 Explorer.
as long as, say we got a mechanic inspection on it that said he thinks it would go another year, or he has, I mean, I don't want to hold him to it, but if he could give us his best judgment on it.
So I'll second the amendment so we can move along. Any discussion on the amendment? So let's vote the amendment.
So,
Oh,
so are we voting just to accept the amendment or
I was going to vote to accept the amendment, which
Yeah.
would then put us at.
discussion of it? Okay. Yeah, I will second the motion to amend the motion.
All in favor of the voting on the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now we are at getting rid of the 14 Taurus and
Retaining the 3.
authorizing, having a mechanic look at this other one again and seeing what we can get for bids for a new cruiser. Right?
I mean, I never identify myself. This is Cecil. I would. I don't have a problem with retaining the 2016 Explorer for now. As long as it is inspectable and drivable. My guess is, depending on what happens with the economy, used cars are just going to be better. We might get more money for a used car further down the line than we would right now. I don't know. But I mean, at the moment, it's not costing us to keep it, correct? Until we have to
Insurance.
fix it, insurance. How much is the insurance fee?
So I've been talking with Jackie about the per vehicle insurance, and she says it's very, very hard to forecast
Gotcha.
what it is. Like, they give you a number when you add a car to it, but then going forward, it's kind of like your auto premium for your fleet is blah. So this probably has not been broken out since the time it was acquired.
Okay, so we do have a motion. Oh, Brett Bueller.
Does it take to get a new?
So if we go out to bid, typically the bid process would take about a month anyway, and then they'd award a bid. And part of their consideration in who to award the bid to could be delivery time. If we were looking to put some value on getting it sooner rather than later, they could choose a bid that maybe was slightly more than the lowest bid, but the guy has the cruiser on the lot, so to speak.
So if I'm following the
So Brent,
conversation-
could you come
Oh,
to
sorry.
the lectern, just so the people on
No,
Zoom
that's
can
fine.
hear you?
Brent Bueller.
If I'm following the conversation, Ralph's suggestion is to keep it as a backup. Inspection due in December. So if we can get delivery before December, then it can go for the 5.
If the mechanic says,
The mechanic says.
yes, Yes,
that it'll last till December.
yes.
Yeah, we can always sell it at any point.
Okay.
So do we want to move this question along? Please. Okay, we have a motion to get rid of 2014 Taurus and get bids for a new cruiser. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one. Item 9, accept a no match grant for replacement of a town vehicle. Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, with your permission, I'm just going to go ahead and read the memo. It's only a page. The town was invited to apply for and has been awarded a state of Vermont grant requiring no town match as part of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grants, EECBG. The grant will provide the town $62,653 to purchase an all-electric minivan to be used by the town for 3 purposes identified in our application. The town is not limited to these 3 uses, but these will help the town meet the goals of the town's adopted 2024 town plan and enhanced energy plan and its 2019 green fleet policy. It is recommended that these be phased in one at a time as they are successful. First phase would be to replace a minivan, which we no longer have, previously used by the rec department. It was eventually unable to pass inspection, I believe also due to rust. And was discontinued. Since that time, our rec director has used his personal vehicle to run equipment and gear around Brandon in our highly decentralized rec infrastructure, which consists of the town office, storage units, ball fields, borrowed facilities from the school district, and so forth. This minivan is versatile and also has seating for up to 6 passengers, so could help move participants to practices, games, and so forth. That would be the primary use of the van as I would anticipate using it. If there is capacity to do so, after insurance approval and screening of volunteer drivers, and we have spoken with the insurance company, they've got a little list of this is what you've got to do if you want to use volunteer drivers. It's an attainable list. Background checks, clean licenses, stuff like that. Then we would propose that the van could be driven by these volunteer drivers to assist Brandon residents who live outside the village with connecting from their homes to the bus stops in Brandon, which would then allow them to head to Rutland and Middlebury for, errands and appointments and so forth. This would not be on demand like Uber. This would be kind of planned ahead, probably at least a day. If that works out, and Bill and Robin in the rec department are still, finding that there's some free time with it. A third potential use could be to offer a runabout service within Brandon, where the volunteer drivers could help Brandon residents to make appointments in town for doctors, pharmacy, grocery store, and other necessary errands. So not just connecting to the mass transit. There's no cost to the town to accept the grant and the vehicle. The proposed purchase is a 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz, 7 passengers, in other words, 6 plus the driver. Ideally, we would obtain a charging unit from Green Mountain Power. I've consulted them. They're happy to work with us if we want to install a charger. But if not, we may have some capacity in the grant. And Green Mountain Power said there would be more like a rebate kind of thing. So we might have some cost to the charger. The vehicle will not be used by any town staff to travel to and from their homes. It will be garaged on town property and used for town purposes, including those detailed above. So I recommend the Select Board accept this grant and further recommend that the Select Board waive the purchasing policy provisions and allow the management to procure a vehicle from a Volkswagen dealer in Vermont as a sole source vendor. Volkswagen manufactures the only all-electric minivan on the market.
Pleasure of the board.
This is Cecil Renish Smith, and I think it's a fantastic idea because it is free. I like free. It replaces a vehicle that got good use in the past. We have good uses for it. I don't see a downside.
This is Doug Bailey, and I like free also. And we have the uses, and it will not cost us anything. So I think we should do it.
In which case I move.
Ralph Ethier, I like 3 too. And also, would this be used like for your classes in Montpelier, Seth? If you take that to Montpelier for your classes?
So it could be used for a town employee to attend a conference or a training or something like
So that way
that,
we
certainly.
don't pay mileage.
Right.
That would.
Right.
Would that be the first use over a rec department use for that day, or?
I would have to think about, probably on an individual basis, like if the rec department's got some stuff going on and if that stuff can't happen because I was going to Rutland for our RPC or something, I don't think I would think it was a good idea. I don't charge the board for traveling to Rutland anyway, and just the long trips.
Right.
So I think I'd weigh it, if
Okay.
they weren't doing anything with it, probably, certainly we would take it. If they were doing something, I'd probably prioritize the rec use, actually.
Yeah, I was looking more like the Montpelier trips.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, and those are almost.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of
Yeah.
that. That's a good.
Okay, are we gonna make a motion?
Yeah, I will move that we accept the grant, the no match EECBG grant, and waive the purchasing policy to purchase a 2025 VW ID Buzz minivan at no cost to the town from a VW dealer in Vermont as a sole source vendor.
I'll second it. I also like free.
Discussion. I would say that's a very good price too, because I looked at one for my wife and it was 77,000. So that's amazing. So Barbara?
Barbara White, I'm wondering, is the vehicle accessible for all people, different mobility issues?
No, not particularly. It's just a standard, like a family minivan. It won't be able to like have a chair lift into it or anything like that.
Okay.
Technically, it probably won't be free because we're gonna pay to charge it and we're also
Sure.
gonna pay to insure it, but it's minimal cost.
Right. And for what it's worth, on my own electric vehicle driving, I've calculated the equivalent mileage cost in gas. I'm effectively paying $1 per gallon of gasoline. So it is considerably cheaper to fuel than
Yeah.
a equivalent thing.
And I
That's
believe
one man's anecdote. but-
We'd be putting the charger at sewer plant probably, or the
I've s-
town garage,
I've
and
spoken
we're
with-
getting 15% of our power for free there. So
I've spoken with both the chiefs of those spots and they're both willing to host either in the red garage at Highway or in one of the garages at Wastewater.
So it kind of circles back to us anyway.
It does, like, once we figured out, we would be paying for it's gonna all come back, right?
we have a motion and a second to approve the no match grant. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no one. Okay.
This works.
Item 10, approved renewal of the Rutland Regional Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement.
Mr. Chair, this is an annual thing. We've not called upon it in the past or had any other towns in the region ask us for emergency use of public works equipment, but it's nice to have this in place in case that need arises either on another community's behalf or on ours. Just provides a framework of understanding.
Been done many years, so I think it's a good idea. Pleasure of the board.
Just for public edification, can you tell us an example of when this might be called upon? I know.
So, right, if we had a flood on Newton Road or something, and we weren't able to get a contractor in with a big piece of equipment because there was floods all over Vermont, we could potentially borrow a piece of equipment from another highway department that was a subscriber to this agreement.
Or they could borrow ours.
Or they could borrow
Right.
ours,
They could borrow
absolutely.
ours.
Yep.
So I move that we ratify, is that what we're doing here?
Sure.
The mutual aid agreement for public works departments of the member municipalities of the Rutland Regional Planning Commission.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? None heard. All in favor of ratifying the Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chair, Just to, before you move on from Public Works, this is just for awareness and like a heads up for the future. The town of Goshen has approached us, or I guess I should say their highway department has approached our highway department about potential sharing of some services between the two towns. And so that's going to come before the board at some point. I've talked with Jeremy. It would basically be their highway department looking to hire our highway department and equipment to do certain tasks that seem more efficient to them if they contract them out to us. No deals are made. It's just a potential.
Ralph and I attended a meeting of all of the different towns, all the way from Danby all around, and that was a 2-hour discussion of the night in reality. And what really seemed to come out of it was that most towns were very hesitant to lend their equipment. They would rather lend their equipment and their man driving it.
That's what we're talking about.
And so I would say that this kind of falls. We did not feel that our town would be too engaged in that kind of a situation. But, you know, when they were talking like the town of Ira with the town of Wells side by side, and each one only has 10 miles of road, sharing a grader or something. But for Brandon, it didn't make a lot of sense, but it was a good meeting. So
I would agree. It wouldn't make sense probably for us to go in on a piece of equipment with Goshen, but
Yep.
for, you know, Jeremy says he has the capacity to go up and do certain tasks so
Yep.
that their highway can concentrate. They're basically doing what we're doing, right? We're focusing on maintenance of our roads and we're hiring out paving and road rebuilding.
Yep.
And they're concentrating on one aspect or several aspects of maintenance and trying to hire out some of the stuff that their equipment's not so suited for. Like we have a much more modern, efficient grader than they have in Goshen.
Okay. We look forward to bringing it to us when it's time.
Okay.
Item 11, appointments to the Rutland Regional Boards, Planning Commission, Jack Schneider, with an alternate Lisa Peluso, and Transportation Advisory, Jeremy Disorda, alternate Brian Kilpeck.
They've all four been consulted and we appreciate their willingness to represent Brandon in this way. And I would recommend that they be appointed.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion to appoint all four of those.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to get them while they're willing.
Yeah,
All in
exactly.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no one. Item 12, resolution retaining legal counsel for tax sale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is our town attorney of many years standing, and they have requested that in the packet, it's a page that's mostly white. There's two very short paragraphs at the top that they'd like you to sign. And it's saying that you're going to have the firm of Carroll, Bow, and Kite on an hourly basis conduct the town's tax sale. And the fees will be assessed against the delinquent taxpayers in an amount not to exceed 15% of delinquent taxes. And that the delinquent tax collector, who's me, or other town designated official, be authorized to bid at the tax sale on the town's behalf in an amount equal to all delinquent taxes, interest, penalties, and fees. I would highlight that from my report at the top, I included the little snippet from the accounting software. The town, just as a result of the collection letter, has collected $65,000 in delinquent taxes and $51,000 in penalty and interest revenue as a result of the collection letter that the attorney sent. So that's all trying to keep people out of tax sale, and it's been successful for those folks. And every single day, somebody comes into the town office or calls and makes an arrangement for a payment plan and puts down their first month's payment to try to clear their taxes in the year.
Great.
Perfect. Pleasure of the board. These costs get passed on if we go to tax sale.
In an amount not to exceed 15% of the taxes. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yep.
What is the two different rates here on the sheets?
I had to ask the same thing, so I'll let the answerer of my question.
They are changing their billing rates as of July. And
So some will
so
be-
work done before then will be at the first rate, work done for the second will be at the second rate. I will also tell you what I told Seth is that I was charging more than this as a baby lawyer 27 years ago. So these are,
Pleasure of the board.
I will move that we adopt the resolution retaining Carroll, Bow, and Kite as legal counsel for the tax sale.
And I will second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of signing the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one. Getting close. Item 13. Park Street closure. Mr. Hopkins?
So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, members of the public, I've spoken with the organizers at the American Legion. I do want to thank Jean Lamar, who advised me she has organized the Memorial Parade in Brandon since 1980, which is quite a run. Thank you, Jean Lamar. And I spoke with Aaron Tucker, who's the commander of the Legion. I don't feel it's prudent for the town to attempt to close Route 7 for the Memorial Parade with just 2 officers in our police department. So I recommended to them that the parade route be changed and that the parade muster on Park Street Extension and that it step off at the corner of Park Street, Marble Street, High Street, and proceed down Park Street to the monument and gazebo, and that be the parade route for Memorial Day going forward. I think it's actually a better parade route for Memorial Day.
So normally, or in the past, it is.
It's a
starting
post
at
office
The
too,
post office down.
But I will say, as someone who has marched in that parade almost every year for the 20 years I've lived in Brandon, the block from the post office to at least the town office, if not to Carr's gift shop, there's very, very few spectators. It doesn't really need to be that long of a parade route, and it doesn't need to inconvenience so many people who use Route 7.
Okay. And I'm just thinking, given the conversations we've been having about closing Park Street in the past, do we know that the folks on Park Street are going to be fine with it? I guess.
No more. So they actually do close Park Street as a part of that. It's like sort of collateral damage. So like it's closed anyways at this point, at that point. So.
And we did run the Memorial Parade in this direction during the Route 7 construction, at least a couple years, maybe 3 years, something like that. And I feel like it was well received by, I was at that time a resident of Park Street, and I felt like my neighbors and I all thought it was a very nice thing to have happening on a Monday morning.
And it's kind of where they got to do it because the monument's there.
They've got to get to the
March to the monument.
Got to get to the.
This
They filed,
cannot be
so-
done. This cannot be done at Estabrook or something. Yeah.
Right.
Motion?
I move that we allow the closure of Park Street for the Memorial Day Parade on Monday, May 26th, starting at 9:30 a.m. Is that?
No, it'd be 10. They'll step off it they'll leave it open right till 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
so starting at 10 a.m. until, do we have a time at which it would be over?
I think that the traveled portion of Park Street, meaning, the part we think of as the street itself, will probably be closed for a half an hour.
Okay.
And the part in front of the businesses and the Brandon Inn and the gazebo is probably going to be closed longer.
Sure.
For
Yeah, so-
memorial exercises.
Okay, so I move that we approve the closure of Park Street for the Memorial Day Parade on Monday, May 26th, starting at 10 a.m. until such time as the parade is over.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of closing Park Street for the parade, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no one. We have made it to public comment. I promised Barbara White that she would be first when she contacted me a number of days ago, so I'm sticking with my promise. Barbara first. And
Does that override what
Yep.
you had done with the agenda?
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm just wondering if he's still here.
he's in.
Oh, he's not.
We're
so
Right
quiet.
after that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Barbara.
For White, I'm speaking on. Oh, Brandon spoke with you last month, I believe it was, on May 1st from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will be an event in town at Central Park called National Day of Action. It is part of a national day of mobilization. Those Americans who are angered by the actions of the president, Congress, and the billionaire Elon Musk. In disagreement and frustration,
with the unconstitutional actions taken by this administration, people will be gathering in Central Park on the 1st as a group known as Indivisible Brandon. This group is one of several hundred groups, the national group, Indivisible. You may go to indivisible.org for more information. For principle behind all Indivisible events is a commitment to nonviolent action. We expect all participants to escalate any potential confrontation with those who disagree with our values. A de-escalation is available for all participants at indivisible.org. And at our weekly Brandon meetings, which are every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, we emphasize this opportunity to learn about how to and how not to engage with those people holding. Press releases will be appearing in the local papers as well as on. For more information, please Google National Day of Action. You may also email me at barbara@indivisible.brandon.org or info@indivisible.brandon.org. We're not expecting as many people as were on April 5th. And the reason is that the Castleton group, the Rutland group, and the Middlebury group all have events being planned. We still are hoping to have 200 to 300 people. We will emphasize on our website where the people may park on public grounds only. And I feel that with the past events we've had positive responses. I've not heard of any negatives. So if there is, I would like to hear it now. I can bring it to our meeting tomorrow night. Yep. Thanks, Barbara.
We're speechless.
Now, Representative.
Now, Todd, your turn. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Todd Nielsen. I represent Bradley Forestdale, represent to the area, and I'm in human services. This is the toughest job I've ever had in my life. I'm not exact on these numbers. We have a $9.2 billion budget in Vermont. In my committee, it's $5.8 billion. It's almost overwhelming. First month I was in there, had to work on numbers with my partner, Daniel Noyes. He's been doing it for like 12 years. And I'm very proud that me and Daniel, we doubled the money for Meals on Wheels. The shortfalls in payrolls in nursing homes was $14 million. We raised it $24 million. And the money is just, it's crazy. And bear with me, okay? I've never seen such money in my life. And I'm very lucky to be in human services. People say it's the toughest community to be in. I'm surrounded by two incredible women, Teresa Wood and Ann Donahue, probably the smartest ladies I ever met. And I'm totally blessed that you guys put me in the House of Representatives, and I'm trying my best. And gosh, I'm learning a lot, and I'm trying to do my best for you folks. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, I didn't cry, so good.
There you go. Close.
Thank you, bear with me.
Thank you.
Other public comment? Public comment, participation? Brent Bueller.
Yeah, Brent Bueller. First, I want to thank Cecil for posting Front Porch Forum, these meetings. Thank you for getting them back up there. I want to thank Seth for requesting funding from the trust fund for sewer and sanitation, and whoever got the P for parking signs up at Dunkin' Donuts and Cafe Provence. It's no longer a secret where public parking is in Brandon. As Seth said, there's a meeting Thursday morning at 8:30 that's now going to be here instead of at Naylor and Breen. I want to thank Seth again for his efforts in trying to get the trustees to have open meetings. I'm not sure Thursday mornings at 8:30 would fall in the category. But maybe after Thursday that'll change.
So
I guess the first thing I want to say, I'm like a dog with a bone on this sewer thing. You know that. So when do we make our first request for mosquito spraying?
So, I plan to attend the trustees meeting on Thursday and have a conversation with them about the provisions of Ms. Farr's bequest to the town, especially as interpreted by Attorney Leary, and reflected on their application form. At the current time, I am more inclined to advocate for some additional funding of the town's sanitary sewer operation than I am to advocate for mosquito spraying due to the trustees' previously expressed reservations about mosquito control. So I feel like the town has our biggest operational area, our largest infrastructure asset is our wastewater treatment facility and the collection system leading to it. And I would like to present a case to the trustees that the town would like the bequest of Ms. Farr, which has as its first provision in sanitary improvements, to be available to the town when we have need for improving that system, which need is going to be an ongoing and substantial need for as long as we're all human beings who generate wastewater.
I'm only asking that because I know in past meetings, it was expressed that mosquito spraying was maybe the only request they granted as a sanitation or swamp drainage sort of thing. So we're getting to the end of the year. I don't know how much, and I know in the past they've denied you some funds for that because they spent it all. So does their year end in July as well or begin in July?
Yes.
So thank you. Yes, please do request more funds. I certainly intend to ask some of those questions on Thursday myself. So, and I've read the minutes on the mosquito funding, and they've put you all through the ringer on that, asking where your figures came from and this and that. And I haven't seen that expressed to any other funding they've given out. So with that, an associate of mine and friend, business partner, Charles Powell, asked Tanner Romano for the working papers for the $10,000 that they have spent on this VCC business. And he said that the town was welcome to those papers for the feasibility study. This was for a feasibility study. So I would like the town to request that. Those papers. I would, now a feasibility study covers demographics, demand, sustainability, a number of things that I think the rec department and the town could use if the information would be there. It is not for architectural plan and PR campaign. So hopefully there's something that you use from that $10,000 for the job. It has nothing to do with superintendent. I know they granted the town $15,000 for the dog park.
No,
they did not.
So we asked for a grant to be a match. We asked for the trustees to give us a grant to match another grant that we were applying for from the state. The trustees declined the grant. They said they could lend it to us, but that was not going to solve the problem because the select board's directive to the town management was to attempt to procure the extra land or the additional land to complete the park without calling on tax dollars. So if we don't call on tax dollars, we have a really limited pool to draw from, which includes the trustees. And the other thing in the pool, I told the select board at the time, I don't know how long I might be town manager. This could all end in a glorious flame tonight. Who knows? But there's like one card I knew I would have in my deck to play, so to speak. And that was the town farm fund. And I was aware of it from being on the select board. And I said, listen, if you don't want the budget to support this purchase, would you authorize the town farm fund to match the grant? And they said yes, and that's in fact what's happened. But that town farm fund is like, that's basically the one time we get to play that card. The town farm fund is now functionally spoken for by all of the needs that's been called upon since 1948.
Well, I saw that there wasn't really a resolution, just that they wanted you to pay it back.
Right.
that
And
was
we
the first-
didn't need cash flow. We
Yeah.
needed a non-tax source.
Right. That was the first time I'd seen them ask for a payback too from anybody that they've given money to from the cookie jar. Basically. So I guess I'll see, hopefully, everybody Thursday morning, 8:30 at here to discuss the Shirley Farr Fund that was meant for sewage and sanitation. And I'd like to encourage the sewer commission, the town management to run as for trustees. There's no reason not to. There's nothing prohibiting you.
They cannot be trustees.
Oh, I thought I was informed that they could.
But the select, because if they were just sewer commissioners, if we had a separate sewer commission, I believe they could run for trustee.
Okay.
But because our select board are the sewer commissioners, I believe they are prohibited from running for trustee.
All right. Well, hopefully.
We'll have to find other interested people that have looked into it so completely.
Okay, that could.
We'll write your
be a
name in if that's what you.
So, thank you very much. And hopefully we will make so many requests in July and August that they won't have to have open meetings because the money will be gone. It will have already been used for that year.
That year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bueller. Other public comments? Yes, sir.
David Martin. I just wanted to make an announcement since I didn't manage to get it into the Energy Committee's minutes or agenda last month. Sunday, the 4th, this coming Sunday, we're going to have another repair fair. And it will be held at the library on the lawn. Hopefully the weather will be cooperative. But I just wanted to thank one of your members for joining us there. We'll be about 6 of us repairing things that people have in town that couldn't use fixing up.
So what kinds of things do you like, appliances or?
Small appliances. It has to be something portable,
Okay.
obviously. Small appliances. I fix lamps. Jeff's going to be fixing furniture. We've had all kinds of things brought to us.
How about a 2012 miniature Cooper?
I don't think
Okay.
that'll work. Although I'm sure there's some.
Yeah.
But if you got a wooden chair, let me know.
But we probably won't have the tools.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make that announcement.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Brett
Mr. Chair,
Bueller, one more
Mr.
time.
Chair,
Oh, yes, go ahead.
before my town manager career ends in flames tonight, I need to correct myself. I'm sorry for the board. Sorry to Mr. Bueller. I did, through the magic of technology, just look up the incompatible offices, and the select board can serve trustees of public funds if they're elected.
So I encourage you to do so. Brent
Because
Bueller.
we're not having enough fun just doing this.
Oh, you could have the meetings before the select board in the open.
Along with the cannabis and the alcohol.
Yeah,
And then we could have a full night of it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Brett.
exactly. Well, it would be fast.
I'll just do more.
It would be fast. That doesn't concern sewage and sanitation. The answer is no. How hard's that? Could the agenda, we have recurring items and we have new business. Could we have pending business added? Like there's an ethics complaint out there or something else that's still kind of pending and hasn't been resolved, but so that we know it hasn't disappeared or fallen off the radar. So recurring, pending, new, something like that. And it can say in the works still or nothing new, you know.
So, and I'm hesitant to put things on the agenda that we don't actually have anything to say about it. Just in terms of our meetings are significantly long. I do think that if there are items that are pending and you want to know during the public comment, you could always ask. And what I will tell you is we're working on it.
Well, things can fall off and people can fall off. So that's why, you know, pending it can be a no comment thing, but at least it's there and people know that it's there. So thank you.
Well, the select board, would you want me to like make a tracker for stuff that happens at a meeting that doesn't, like, you know what I mean? Like we have the tracker for Public Works.
I would generally like, even if it's not necessarily, published, but maybe public, but not published, sort of like a task list of just things that just so we don't fall off of things, because that can happen through no fault of anyone's, just if things get left by the wayside. I don't know what form would make the most sense for that, but it's worth considering, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we could put old business / action items and yeah. We'll
I don't
figure out.
Yeah, I think I'm with you that I don't necessarily need it on the agenda, but just having a running list.
Could be
somewhere would
even
nice.
just something on the part of your management report. Like I would actually love to see, I know we used to like to look at the project tracker every now and then, but just kind of knowing that certain projects haven't fallen off the cliff like the waterfall. Just know, so we know that.
You got ahead of my
We know you're
question.
working on a million things, but.
Oh, there's the roof.
So with the waterfall, I'm honestly like super happy. Last project tractor I made that was kind of comprehensive was right after town meeting.
Right.
I do
Right.
all. So the waterfall, I think we're gonna change course and just go out for proposals in general through the state site and not have an educated guess. We're just going to tell people, we're gonna have a job, and what solution would you offer as, a firm that works in the field of, water and historic structures and engineering. That seems like that's the way to get some momentum moving.
Okay. Last call on public comment.
Still, the roof is still on for me, yes.
Yep. May starts this Thursday. Okay, we will recess for 5 minutes before going into executive session. Thank you all for coming. We're back in session.
Right, and this is Cecil Rennish-Smith, Vice Chair, and I move that we move into executive session pursuant to 1 Vermont statutes annotated section 313 sub A sub 3 regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation of a public officer or employee.
Second. If you're ready.
Yeah, no, there was another lesson. There's a line there that I was like, what? Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to enter executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Pass those down to Seth just so they're. Okay, 9 PM, out of executive session. No action taken.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.